I get it, you see a sleek gantry crane on a product page, the pictures make it look like the perfect solution for your cramped shop, and then you wonder if it will actually hold up when you try to lift that heavy engine block or the stack of steel plates you keep on the floor. The worst part is ordering something that looks great in a catalog, only to discover it's a nightmare to move, impossible to assemble, or just can't handle the weight you need it for. That hesitation is real, and that's why I'm breaking it down before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the problem this kind of equipment tries to solve. In a small to medium workshop, you often have to juggle a few tasks at once: cutting, welding, assembling, while heavy parts sit in the middle of the floor. A portable gantry crane gives you a way to lift, move, and position those parts without turning the whole space into a permanent fixture. The key trade-offs are usually between capacity, footprint, and how much effort you'll spend setting it up each time you need it. If you've ever tried to rig a hand-cranked hoist on a workbench and ended up with a squeaky, wobbly contraption, you'll know why a purpose-built gantry can feel like a game-changer. The Vestil FPG 3 is marketed as a steel portable work area gantry crane with a 300-pound capacity, a 94-inch lift height, and a footprint of roughly 81 by 48 inches. It's built from cold-rolled steel with a powder coat finish, which should keep it from rusting in a garage that doubles as a workshop. The biggest selling point the manufacturer pushes is the bolt-together assembly. In practice, that means you don't have to weld or bolt anything to the floor, just line up the pre-drilled holes, slide the bolts in, and tighten. Most reviewers I've read on forums say the whole process takes about 15 minutes with a basic socket set. That's a real time saver when you're juggling a job that needs to stay on schedule. Mobility is another claim that gets a lot of attention. The frame is relatively light for a steel crane, around 80 pounds, so two people can lift it onto a pallet jack or even slide it across a smooth concrete floor. In a typical small shop, that means you can tuck it away in a corner after a job, free up floor space, or move it to a different bay without committing to a permanent installation. I've seen a couple of hobbyists set it up next to a workbench for occasional engine swaps and then roll it into the hallway when they need the bench for a different project. That kind of flexibility is hard to find in a weld-in-place gantry, which often ends up becoming a permanent fixture even if you only need it once a month. Now, let's get honest about the limits. The 300-pound rating is generous for many light-duty tasks. Lifting a small motor, a pallet of parts, or a sheet of glass is well within its sweet spot. However, if you're in an automotive shop that regularly handles engines over 400 pounds, you'll quickly hit the ceiling. The crane's design also means the load travels on a single beam that spans the width of the machine. On an uneven floor, you'll notice a slight sway when the load is near the outer edge of the beam. That isn't a safety issue as long as you keep the load centered, but it does require a bit more attention than a heavier, more rigid industrial crane that can tolerate a few inches of floor imperfection. Another practical consideration is the lifting mechanism itself. This model uses a standard chain hoist that you attach to the crane's trolley. The chain is not included, so you'll need to buy a compatible hoist separately. That adds a small extra cost, but it also lets you pick a hoist with a longer rope or a different gear ratio if your workflow demands it. The downside is that you have to remember to attach the hoist correctly each time you set the crane up. Forgetting to secure the chain can lead to a dropped load, which is the exact scenario the product is supposed to prevent. So, who should actually consider putting this crane in their shop? If you're a DIY enthusiast who occasionally needs to lift a 200-pound motor, a small fabricator who works on custom metalwork, or a hobbyist building a go-karts or a homebrew robot, the Vestil FPG 3 hits a sweet spot. Its portability means you can store it in a garage when it's not in use, and the bolt-together design means you won't spend half a day assembling it every time you need a lift. The powder coat finish also gives you peace of mind that it won't rust after a few rainy days of being left outside for a quick job. On the flip side, if your daily routine involves moving heavy equipment, think large CNC machines, industrial pallets, or automotive frames that regularly exceed 300 pounds, this crane